I can very rarely bring myself to do the like share thing. Just it's everything I don't want to become. But yeah, so we have a full dono queue for today, 4 dono decks. We're playing some Bant Reclamation first. I was asked to build a Reclamation deck of my choosing, a Wilderness Reclamation deck, and then it was clarified maybe we should just make this Bant Reclamation was what I was ended up being asked to build. And we are playing its mill, and I have a main deck, Nexus of Fate. I mean, I'm assuming this is mill. I guess it could be Crabvine. I will remand this crab so that I don't get the extra triggers. Well, drew a Force of Negation, so I suppose I'll on F6. Oh, and look at this. My beautiful, beautiful Yield Till Instep button is finally back. It's finally back after being gone for weeks. You like the 2 tiles together, just some random MCU juice? Yes, yeah. I think it's fine. Maybe needs a little bit of work. It's certainly goofy. Yeah, let's play the island. Of course, they play archive traps, so I'm gonna try to fade those for a bit. It's possible we could have fetched end of turn and like tried to force an archive trap, but it's so bad if they have 2. It's so bad if they just have 2. And I'd also rather force Mesmeric Orb, I think. Good morning, Joel. Alright. I guess we're just walking into it. If they have 2 archive traps, we may lose. If they don't have exactly 2, probably be fine. Vericha, MVP, good morning to you. Sorry for butchering your name. Good morning. Good morning to everybody who's joining me this morning. Okay, cool. Wilderness Reclamation means if our Uro lives and we get to put this into play, we win the game, right? No, I guess we need one more land. Assuming my opponent can completely mill me out here, and to do that they would need maybe 3 archive traps and like a fetch land. Because I am main decking the Nexus of Fate in this version, which is pretty good. Yeah, they only have 1 trap, so if this resolves, we can just loop Nexus, take infinite turns. Although I guess Uro also has the same problem Teferi Hero of Dominaria does, where you attack with Uro and you draw a card, and then you die if your only card is Nexus. Good morning, Bad. We haven't flipped the Nexus yet. Whenever this happens, like when they've milled me for a bunch and we haven't seen the Nexus, I always like look to make sure it's actually in the deck. Good morning, Unexistent. Yeah, 14 mana, I guess. But also, we should just be able to make a Shark to win 2. Good morning, JK. Okay. Let's just attack first. We did reveal the Nexus. But I believe as long as we just like make a Shark this turn, we're gonna win. We also win if we find 1 more land.
What's up? It's me, your friend Aspiring Spike.
Although, oh, I didn't flip mana. Oops. Let me see if I actually have a land to get here. Do have 1 more, and I have a Field of the Dead still in the deck. But it's probably not going to be necessary. Well, I guess we could actually just like draw the Field of the Dead with Factor Fiction. Right now. I guess there's a chance we miss. Would have been pretty easy, I think, if I had floated the mana to make a 1/1 Shark, then Factor Fiction, then we just draw the Field of the Dead. Oh, but then we also draw the Nexus. Right. So I'll just make a 1/1 shark right now to stop my opponent from like playing. This is. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Shit. Well, we're dead if they can mill us, I guess. Need to grow spiral into field. Yes. Yes, and out. We can't cast it on our upkeep. We only have 6 mana. But so we have one. Oh no. Also, oh no. But we have 1 land in our deck that still makes mana. So if we spiral into that 1 land, which is Field of the Dead, we win. It also makes a zombie, which I guess isn't that relevant because they have an 0/3, and we're only making 1 zombie this game. Do they have a land? Maybe I guess I'm supposed to respond. Oh, they don't have a land. That's so sick. What a swingy game. What a swingy game. Okay, so we should be able to find the Field of the Dead, right? Got a lot of looks. There's 3 cards left in our library. One of them is relevant. None of the other ones are, really. Can we play that and also Nexus of Fate? Yeah, we have plenty of mana. Plenty. So this plays around them having a Force of Negation in their main deck, which is not super likely. But even if they have Force, they force this and then they lose. They've got something. Fatal Push. Oh, does that also beat us? Maybe it's we do have. I guess we have a fetch land in the deck too to make a second zombie. Let's see. So our library right now is, I believe, Field of the Dead plus other fetch land. Yeah, so Teferi Bound should win the game if I'm right about that. So I'm not going to play this until I play the field. I was right about that. Weird game, weird game. These like Nexus of Fate versus Mill games are really, really interesting to me. They always like feel like they just end up being super close, and they always do end up being super close. I guess we also just get to escape Uro here and then Nexus again. Although attacking with Uro is not something we can always do, but that's fine, we don't need to. Yeah, we win the game here. It's just like it's always pretty interesting, this like sub game of trying to assemble a win with like them milling you out so you take infinite turns, but you just have to have the ability to cast Nexus and a way to win the game. But you know, having 1 card in your deck that your opponent can't interact with, and that, you know, makes their game plan of milling you all of a sudden like, oh, your win condition is pretty interesting to me. It's not very often that something like this ever happens. It's pretty cool, I think. I'm just gonna attack with the zombies, I guess. We can attack with Uro, and then end of turn Nexus. Go quicker. Maybe they'll just concede if I don't attack with Uro. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what we do here. We've won this game. I was thinking that maybe this would maybe it would be faster if I didn't attack with Uro, but they want to play it out, so I'll attack. Yeah, I could have. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, there are a million ways we could save a little bit of time here. It just doesn't matter. The game is over. And we're ahead on time, too. All we have to do is not attack with our Uro here. Yeah, I think there's an incredibly small chance that this game goes down to decking. I'm sorry, so that this game goes down to time. So it feels like our opponent's kind of wasting our time, but whatever. It's their time to waste. They paid for 25 minutes of clock, and damn it, they can use it if they want to. I think Blaststone's pretty good against the crabs. Also, just bringing in a land is pretty good when your plan is to just get to 7 mana. I guess the Teferi is better than any of these other cards. Maybe a Verdict is fine if they just have a ton of crabs. It's kind of slow, though. I'll play a Verdict over a Factor Fiction. I think 3 Factor Fiction is too many. Just kind of helps them a lot. Would it be a spew to keep pressing the Nexus audio button? Yeah. I know that's exactly what it's there for. I keep forgetting about it. We have 4 Dono decks today. We have this, which is my take on Bant Reclamation. And then we have a blue-green Phyrexian Dreadnought Uro Stifle deck in Legacy. This is the old version, though. I was asked to tweak it. This is the next deck on the queue. And then we have Legacy Heliod combo, which I was also asked to tweak. It's kind of interesting playing the Soul Sisters with Sylvan Library, although the first version was playing like 12 Soul Sisters, which I thought was way too many. And then we have the really interesting modern adventure color 4-color adventure spell shift combo. It's kind of a mouthful. Oh, maybe I didn't actually upload that deck list, but I have it on my desktop. Yeah, the very interesting. If you spell shift an adventure spell, you get to Primal Surge if these are the only 2 spells and win the game with Thassa's Oracle. Kind of interesting. I'm gonna keep this. Seems fine. So really cool Dono queue today. Really excited about this one, and it of course is always nice to take a break from the usual shenanigans. I'm going to get a Prairie stream here tapped on turn 1, doing it on my turn to play around trap. They're less likely to have one if we do it on our turn. Okay, well, I'm glad we have this Supreme Verdict, although it may be a little too slow. Yeah, I really like the structure of just doing 1 Dono deck a week, or one Dono day a week, and it's a good palate cleanser for me. It's a good change of pace for you guys. You guys get to showcase your decks. I think it's a good thing. I'm doing well, Cole. How are you doing today? Opponent is in the tank. I'm so glad to have this button back. It's been too long. When and how did I come up with the idea of Dono decks? I mean, I didn't come up with the idea. It's something like a lot of modern streamers do, or Magic streamers do, is have Dono decks. Maybe the first time I saw it was on Jim Davis's stream, but that's also because I've been watching Jim Davis for a long time. And you know, everybody has a different approach. Like, some people just take them whenever. Some people, oh, what? Some people just do them whenever. Some people like to have one day. Some people like to, you know, everybody's got a different take. Cheese Humper, 5 months in a row. Welcome back. Hope you're having a good day today. I guess I'm going to restart Magic Online. I don't feel like it's a lag on my end, but if my opponent is pausing this much, it's possible that it is, right? I did a Supreme Vintage Cube draft, and boy, that format is silly. Awesome, Garwell. Good to know. Good reconnaissance. Yeah, because we restarted, it actually doesn't tell us how long our opponent's been in the tank, but I think it's been like 3 minutes, so they have to be back in like 5 minutes. Yeah, I think that there's something, like their internet crashed or their dog wants to play or something. Yeah, I mean, I feel like how long are these Supreme drafts supposed to be up? Because I feel like they're going to really lose their novelty in like 2 or 3 days. I could probably do a whole draft right now. 1 week, okay, that's honestly even like a bit long, but I guess you give everybody a chance to experience it. I did a draft this morning. I between drafting and playing my 3 matches, the whole league took me like 30 minutes, and I went 3-0. I had a really cool deck that I got 3 channels and a lot of fast mana, and the Mind's Desire was absolutely busted, and then the Time Twister gets way better with all the fast mana and the channels. I wish I had picked up a second Mana Morphos. I could have, but that was also like a bit earlier in the draft. And I had this crazy turn 1 where I went turn 1 channel Mana Morphos Time Twister into cast Karn for Storm Count into Mind's Desire, and Mind's Desired into Ulamog, Recall, Time Walk, Vanillion Click, Petal, Emrakul the Promised End, Fast Bond. And my opponent went turn 1 Black Lotus, Mana Vault, Wormcoil, and lost the game. It was just so ridiculous. This is my turn 1. Yeah, I cast Karn Liberated for Storm Count for Mind's Desire. It was just so ridiculous. Yeah, this is my opponent's lost connection to the game. I think we've got like maybe 2 minutes before they lose for inactivity. Yeah, I cast Karn Liberated for Storm Count because I had channel going. It was crazy on turn 1. It's crazy. Yeah, and honestly, like the drafting portion of the regular Vintage Cube is one of my favorite things to do in Magic. It's like you're playing against other people while you're drafting. I always find that to be really exciting, like in very interesting decisions. But in this, like, you're just drafting against yourself. For how it works is so you have 18 packs. You get to make 2 picks out of each pack, and every pack is a brand new is a fresh pack, just a random 15 cards from the Vintage Cube, so you can get multiples of cards. And everybody ends up with a lot of power, and it's just pretty ridiculous. Hull Breacher is the best non-power card in Supreme Vintage Cube. I kind of feel like it's Mind's Desire or Lotus Petal. Like Lotus Petal is like almost as good as a Mox in a lot of these decks, in my opinion, because you're just trying to like kill on turn 1 or 2, so you're not going to tap the thing a lot. I mean, Hull Breacher is very good. Like I see a lot of like the Wheel of Fortune, like Narset Hull Breacher decks. Those look pretty good. But I feel like Mind's Desire is also crazy. If you can just draft 2 or 3 Mind's Desires, your deck is absurd, right? And maybe I'm just biased because I only got 1 in my draft, but it was just so absurdly good. Yesterday, Caleb got to turn. I would have loved to watch Caleb play this format. I should have tuned in yesterday. So crazy. I feel like it's been like. Maybe I shouldn't have restarted. Yeah, Soul Ring is definitely power. It's really like the power 11. I mean, maybe power 10. I don't know that you should consider Time Twister, especially because, Wheel of Fortune, Time Twister, Time Spiral. Although I guess Time Spiral is worse in this cube. There's like lots of replacements for it, and it just isn't nearly as high a pick as the fast mana. So I would say like the power 10 is, Recall, Time Walk, Lotus, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, and then Moxen. So I would say like those are the top 10 cards, and like it's like you never pass one of those for a different card. I think at least early. Library is off the list as power 11. Yeah, I don't really think it's even been on for a while. I would say Library is unplayable in this format, actually. Like a stone unplayable. Maybe in like if you get like a really good control deck somehow, maybe it's playable. But I would say that it's like it seems to be very close to unplayable in Supreme Vintage Cube. Like you're just like winning on turn 1 and turn 2 very often. I'm gonna keep this hand on the draw against Obosh. I have a Force for a Blood Moon, which is pretty good. Obviously, we need to draw like 2 more lands, but yeah, I drafted an Oko in my deck, and then I didn't end up playing it because I genuinely don't think it's very good. Yeah, and one silly thing about the Supreme the Supreme draft is like 50% of the cards in Cube are never getting played. You know, I would say about 50% of cards in the Cube like never should make it into anyone's deck, which is weird. You get the same perks than a Twitch subscription. So the perks of a Twitch subscription are no ads. So I guess that would be no ads for YouTube, emotes, and then sideboard guides on the Discord. So you would get maybe no ads on the YouTube membership, which is possibly worth setting up. But you wouldn't get access to the Twitch emotes. And then I guess I could maybe set up the sideboard guide stuff. You're the first person to suggest it, so I'm not shooting it down. I'm just trying to think about it. Caleb 3-0'd with a mono red deck. That's cool. Really happy to hear that that's possible to do. This probably won't make... I'm not sure if people in chat are familiar with Nina Simone, but she's a really talented singer. And I just found in my like Spotify that she did a cover of Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, which is also a very good song. And I'm listening to it right now. It's just kind of a tangent. I'm really excited. It's like... I had no idea she ever did a cover of this. Would I play a Pioneer Dono? Yes. Kind of with an asterisk where I always have veto power of a Dono. So it is possible I would say no depending on what the list is like if I think it's uninteresting. But I've played many Pioneer Donos before. Like, maybe need an excuse to get back into the format, you know? Have I heard of Raven Simone? Yeah. heard legends and rumors. Do I have a favorite song?
Welcome, Spikeling, to the Shark Typhoon.
Probably. I have to think about it. Gorbad 2 months in a row? I don't know, it just kind of always changes. I really like Gone by Kanye West was my favorite song for a while, which was always a bit weird to me because Kanye has a ton of more technically proficient songs and like way more high quality songs, but for whatever reason that one just resonated with me. Really liked that one. Kind of like Remand against them. Let's play like 2 Remand, 4 Gust, 3 Cryptic, and the Sharks. I also do like Teferi when you bring in the Gust. Just Teferi is better in sideboard games when games slow down, and Teferi is better when you have more 2-mana pieces of interaction. Probably don't need 3 Path, actually. In fact, Condemn is even maybe better than Path. Maybe do something like this. Yeah, you can post a link, sir. I'll take a look. The way I learned about Nina Simone is an ad for Luther, Idris Elba. I'm familiar with Idris Elba. I don't know what Luther is. But yeah, she's great. On my way back from, or on my way to GP Denver in like 2017, I was talking to some of my friends who don't play Magic, and I was telling them I was going to go to Denver for a Magic tournament, and they wanted to tag along, and we road tripped out there, and it was really fun. And one of my friends, or so it was four of us in a car out there, and then a couple other people in a different car, but everybody else ended up flying home besides me and this other guy, and we bonded over our love for Nina Simone, and we like basically blasted her all road trip, and it was awesome. Like the whole like 13-hour drive back, and he was driving my car for a bit, and he ran over a deer that was already on the road, and it was pretty gnarly. It was pretty gnarly, and we did end up making it through the night. But boy, it's like the car got hit pretty bad, and everything smelled terribly. It's a rough night. Yeah, so I fetched in a way to be able to play around Blood Moon. I may still Force of Negation it on the way down. We do still just have a decent number of answers, and it's not even that good here. But they only have 2 cards left in their hand, and this is mostly what the forces are for, so I'll just force pitching Force. Yeah, Kanye. I went to the Life of Pablo concert, or one of the Life of Pablo concerts that Kanye did in my area, and it was the best concert I ever went to. Yeah, let's Uro here, I think. Gotta gain some life. Can't get untapped green mana. I'm not playing a Canopy Vista. Was that the last turn? Maybe it was. I haven't been as into Easy the last few years. Hopefully they kill the Teferi, but opponent's smart and doesn't overvalue it like a lot of players do. And we can't escape Uro even if we draw a fetch, because then we just die. So. We can try to spiral into like exactly basic forest. But I think it's going to be better to Reclamation, make a... Oh no, this is bad because I just have this Firebolt, actually. But Reclamation, make a 1/1 Shark, probably. Hope to draw a piece of interaction. But I actually don't think that we have interaction that plays here because of the Firebolts. Like, we could have drawn Force and then Spiral into a 1-mana white removal spell. Game 3. Are there any good Thoughtscour Uro decks? I think the Thief is playing like a Sultai mid-range deck, like a Liliana discard spell deck that's also playing Thoughtscour today. Look kind of interesting. Arbiter for MTG 3 months in a row. Happy 3 months to you too. To get back to my tangent about the road trip out to GP Denver in 2017. We left like 4 or 5 days before the tournament started, so we could do some camping and like visit Bishop's Castle outside of Colorado City, which is a really cool place. We in that time, in the like 4 or 5 day period, I was playing Teamer Energy, but in that period of time, everyone started splashing black for the Scarab God. And I was behind on the times. I didn't have the tech that I should have been doing that, but I just was out of Magic for like 4 or 5 days, and all of a sudden my list felt really out of date for the tournament. His title was Bad Sultai. I mean, he's not wrong. I think it's definitely how I would describe like Sultai with Liliana. It's just not as good as it's. They left in Flame Slash? What the hell? Alright, I think that I want to get a basic island here and not Gust the Swiftspear and save the Gust in case they Blood Moon me. And then we can get also a basic Plains right now. Game 3. We just play the Temple Garden tapped. What do I think? Oh, I didn't see the link. There we go. Thank you for reminding me. My head was in the clouds. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've seen this before. I would play this as a dono deck. I've seen like this strategy. This is definitely a list that has made me want to play Pioneer. More so than like any other deck I've seen recently has. So I would be down. I think we want to fetch so we can escape Uro next turn. Yeah, we probably are gonna go make a 1/1 shark and cast Gust on something, and escape Uro next turn. Yeah, I think that list is really cool. TSP Jindrik came up with the initial build, right? If I'm remembering correctly. I'm gonna make a 1/1 shark. I'll probably just block the Swift Spear. I don't really care about trading with the Elemental because I'm about to make some zombies. Ooh, Dart. It's fine. I'm just gonna try to save a Gust for a Blood Moon mostly. Unless they go like really in on there. They have Kozilek's Return? I guess that's for field. Kind of surprising. Bone Crusher. Okay, I really want to cast this. I'll cast it on the Crusher here. So we can escape the Uro, of course. That's a really interesting card. Does that change anything? We can play basic forest. And then spiral and then Uro. Can we Uro and then spiral? We can. But we can't play the field first. I'm just going to Uro first. Or maybe I want to put the Aether Gust on top. To play around the moon. And if we spiral first, we can do that. Okay, let's do that then. Do we have a painless untapped white source? We have a Prairie Stream, but we also just have this basic plains. But I think it was better to hold up the Gust than to cast the Condemn. What decks are in today's queue? It's this, and then we have next we have a blue-green Uro and Phyrexian Dreadnought Stifle list in Legacy, and then we have Legacy Heliod combo, and then Modern's Spell Shift combo. So a lot in the queue today. They're going to stomp a zombie. They have one card left in their hand. And they put Obosh in their hand, and now they have two. Obosh is pretty remandable, though. That's a zombie. Yeah, I haven't played Legacy in a while. I'm excited to play some today. I'm a big lover of the format. It's been a while since I've had the chance to cast some brainstorms. What does this deck use the mana advantage generated by Rec for? Factor Fiction, Cryptic, Nexus of Fate. You know, you can just escape Uro, untap, hold up Cryptic Command. It's got a lot. I guess if we remand, they just replay it immediately, so I don't think we want that to happen. I'll just Gust. Lover of the format as it is. I mean, I haven't played the format in a while. I was kind of a lover of the format in general, even if it's not like in a healthy place. I think I'll always love Legacy. I just really love Legacy. But I haven't played it in a while. I usually just play Ant, and then everybody always tells me Ant is unplayable, and I usually just still do pretty well with Ant. Spike, how can you possibly play Ant in this format? I'm like, I don't know, I really like the deck. It's my favorite deck in Magic. What is Ant? Ant is one of the... I guess there are now 3 popular Storm variants in Legacy, if you count Doomsday. But it is a Storm variant in Legacy that stands for... The acronym stands for Ad Nauseam Tendrils. And it's a Storm deck. I got to play it in the 25th Anniversary PT, the only PT where you could ever play Legacy. I was really happy to be able to play Legacy there. And people told me it was bad there too, but I also had a really good record. just gonna draw a card. I don't think I want to put Miss Sanctuary on top. I think all roads lead to Rome here, honestly. Tin Fins is the other Storm deck. No. The other main Storm deck is the Epic Storm, which I think you probably know. I think you're goofing. The Epic Storm. And then the third one is, I guess Tin Fins is a Storm deck. I was kind of thinking of Doomsday as like being kind of a pseudo Storm deck. But for a long time it was Tess and Ant, which is called the Epic Storm. And Ant is like slower, but more resilient. It plays a lot of discard spells to try to get through permission, and Tess is a lot faster. I'll keep this. I think I'm going to lead on Fountain on turn 1 in case I draw a green source, but I do think there's an argument for playing Field on turn 1. No, Basic Island isn't good in 3 color. I'm not saying it definitely is. However, I think in Wasteland Mirrors, the ability to fetch a basic has potentially been something that the deck has always wanted and hasn't played in the past. But I'm not saying that's definitely the case. But I get why they play it, but I also don't think it's a bad thing that they have to play basic lands. I don't think that there's a lot to criticize Legacy about right now. But I think the fact that something is making them play more basics is not one. Yeah, I get why they play basics, but I don't think that that's like a criticism of why the format's bad. I don't really feel like Legacy, or at least in my, maybe it's different now because I haven't really been playing it. But in my opinion, I don't think like there is a perception that Legacy is full of degenerate combo, and there are a lot of combo decks, but they really are kept in check by the fair decks. In my experience. Jessica Triumph. So Mr. Fister, I believe, is playing Polymorph, and you could say, how could you possibly know that? And it's because Fister has a Dono deck in the queue for like January for this deck. So now we get to play test against it. Very exciting. Well, it's possible that's not what's happening. I'll remand a Growth Spiral. I'll remand basically anything. We really need to find lands. And so like if we just don't get to remand something this turn cycle, it's a disaster. And we miss a land drop, I guess. Teferi would be bad. Looks like they have it. Maybe I was supposed to play around Teferi. I don't know. I feel like we probably have to remand anything there. And we have our own Teferi. Let's see if they have a Force of Negation. No, my Dono queue isn't exactly that far out. We just like, this was the 5th Dono deck for this week, and then Fister's like, I can't do next week or the week after. We'll just do January. Well, Spike, you play Standard.
Welcome, Spikelings, to the Shark Typhoon.
Is it? Why is? I mean, I was into Standard and wasn't very good at it for the PT, but I have played a lot of Standard in my time. Mr. Suri MTG, yo Spike, high time I sub with 3 months. Thank you, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day today. Glad to have you back.
I'm going to my mom's today.
Okay.
And Athena says, I went to...
Did you take her out before?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All creatures have haste. So this is one thing I wanted to talk to... Have a good day, sweetheart.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to our opponent about this, because I feel like this would be the Mass Hysteria would be better as Crashing Footfalls, which I know is a bit of a weird card. I bounce the Teferi, I think. Crashing Footfalls, bit of a weird card. Or maybe we Factor Fiction actually this turn. Yeah. Although I do think we're gonna get Emrakul. But I think Crashing Footfalls is better because it cycles. This list is just playing 4 Mass Hysteria to give the Emrakul's haste. I know it's kind of 1 more mana, but it cycles, and it doesn't give your opponent's creatures haste. So I really think it's better. Sorry, not Crashing Footfalls. Not Crashing Footfalls. That's not the name of the card. It's a 1 mana red enchantment that enchants a land and gives the land the ability to tap and give a creature haste and cycles for 1. It's not Crashing Footfalls, but I also don't remember the name of the card. Are we doing Legacy? No, both Legacy Donos are coming up next, right after this. Stay tuned. I think we discard the second Remand. Footfall Crater, thank you. Yeah, I really think that it also gives Trample, which is not irrelevant. I really think that Mass Hysteria should be replaced with this card. And I actually think it'd be pretty cool on the list, so hopefully Mr. jumps into the chat afterwards and we can talk about that. Our opponent's playing Dwarven Mine Polymorph. And so every land in their deck is a mountain, and they are going to polymorph a dwarf token, Mass Hysteria to give everything haste, and then throw an Emrakul at us. I also shouldn't this be the red polymorph too? I can't remember exactly if the list had both.
Hey baby, when you wore these jeans, you wore them with the tag on, but I have to return them anyway, so.
Why do you have to return them?
Because these are the small
Oh,
ones.
those are the other ones. Okay. I mean, I only wore those like once.
Twice. Maybe the two.
Get a blast zone up to 15. Be pretty good. So Path Exile does stop the combo if our opponent doesn't have Teferi in play, and I think we should try to have Teferi not be in play. I guess Polymorph is good because it doesn't get Tails Ended, although Gust just does get the Dwarven Mine token. The red Polymorph I think is called Transmogrify. It's just Polymorph but red. Got a lot of cards we want to bring in. I think I like Gust more than Path, and I think 4 Gust seems like plenty to me. We can trim an Uro probably. Probably don't need this, don't need the Nexus. Something like this, maybe? Maybe just cut the Rex. Not have anything to tap out for, really, or less things to tap out for. You could not Path Emrakul, no. Yeah, there's also Luca, and Luca's kind of nice because it's 2 polymorphs, so Luca's kind of good versus like a lot of removal spells, but I think you just... the 4 mana seems like it matters more. Creativity is the best one because it can get around 1 removal spell if you have 2 dwarves. Yeah, sorry. You can path the token in response to Polymorph. Killing the token stops the combo. Which is why I think they play 4 main deck Teferis to stop it. This is actually something we played a while ago in Modern, back when Arkham's Astrolabe was legal, and I kind of liked the deck. An old brew. This was before the red polymorph was legal, but so I was playing polymorph and Luca instead of creativity, so I could play Arkham's Astrolabe, and really kind of tie the room together, get the mana smooth. I was also playing Nahiri in this deck, which is maybe good, Just kind of attack. If they're holding up a bunch of removal spells, you get to play Nahiri. Seems kind of interesting to me. Maybe that's a good sideboard plan for the deck. Just like transition into just Guy Nahiri, cut all your polymorphs, just play a control deck against some strategies. That's an idea. That is an idea. Not a fan of the Astrolabe. Well, we're not gonna be playing it in future versions. But it was a pretty cool. That was a fun brew. It's a good one. Oh, look who is gracing us with her presence. Now that Esther is gone for the day. I've been moving her bed around, so And she seems to be more interested in sleeping in her bed if I move it every day. I don't know if there's any psychology or truth behind that, but I'm going to keep doing it as long as she keeps seeming to like it. Creativity is also better because it can blow up a Grafdigger's Cage. Yeah. Creativity, I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. We definitely play creativity because there's no reason not to with Arkham's Astrolabe being out of the format. Creativity and Astrolabe don't work because it's an artifact for creativity, of course. But that was just, you know, the deck in the past. I do think the Astrolabes were good. I was also playing Electrolyze because like that was back in the Luris meta, back before the companion nerf, and Electrolyze was actually playable in the Luris meta because it was a good answer to Luris. And Luris showed up every single game on on turn 3 most of the time. Yeah, you don't even need to cut all your polymorphs. I agree. That's actually I may work on that. I may work on this deck. I think like siding into Jeskai Nahiri actually sounds pretty interesting. That way you only have to cut you cut like 8 cards and then you don't even have to cut all 8. But you could just sideboard into like a Jeskai Nahiri control deck, which is going to be good against some decks, and then you're like a faster combo deck against others. Probably will not end up being good, but is at least interesting. You also can play Shark Typhoon, which combos with your polymorphs, and then is also good for your sideboard plan. Although, like, mostly you're just trying to Dorvern mine, of course. I will say, yeah, the worst part of this setup is Athena not just being in the background all the time. I have been thinking about maybe just getting a couch, because she likes to sit on couches. She likes to be high up. So if I could just like get a couch right here, that's just for Athena. That would probably be worth it. So we want to Tails End, that way we could maybe remand a Veil of Summer. Or just Tails End again, maybe. Or I guess we would probably Tails End the Mire, actually. Few choices. Okay, so yeah, I think I will Sanctuary Tails End, which does seem quite good in this matchup. And then that'll probably prompt my opponent to fetch now, and we just get to Tails End the Mire now. Bring back the Athena Cam. The problem with the Athena Cam is mostly that Athena is never in one spot. So I would have to be like moving it every day. I can't be expected to do that much labor. Yeah, a GoPro on Athena would be fun for the 20 minutes that she doesn't eat it, but Athena really hates accessories. She doesn't mind her bandana so much, but she would not like a GoPro being on her. Well, we don't have another answer to this. Let's see what we draw. We can Mystic Sanctuary back Remand and Veil of Summer into the Remand for next turn, which doesn't feel good. Hey Ginnan, how you doing? Yeah, so Polymorph gets disputed and Transmogrified gets Aether Gusted. Maybe that's just a wash. Tails End the Annihilator trigger, big brain. Yeah, you can't Tails End the Polymorph trigger, it's just a thing. But what we can do is we can Mystic Sanctuary Remand and cantrip into the Remand off of Veil. But they have instead decided to play a red spell, not a blue one. So we're going to need to find Cryptic Command or Teferi. We can also Tails End a... We can Tails End a trigger. Yeesh. We have outs. We have outs. Probably take 15. Now I'll chump. Yeah, I know we can Sanctuary back at Tail's End, but we don't get a zombie if we do that, and it's also just kind of sucks, right? Like when we have outs to this, I think it's maybe better to like just rip, right? Yeah, we have Teferi Time Raveler to just bounce it. This is not trampling. It doesn't have trample. We can't cycle Veil. They haven't cast a blue spell. Veiled. It seems like people kind of are under the impression you can just always cycle Veil of Summer. That's not the case. You can't do that. Cryptic is a great draw. Yeah, and that's another boon of Footfall Craters is it gives trample. Even supposed to upkeep tap. Was there any value in cycling your Remand on your Tail's End? I don't know. Maybe. We could also Remand our Veil of Summer. But, I mean, my opponent probably has some permission here. So, like, keeping this to, like, protect whatever I top deck is also possibly better. Certainly feels like there's a discussion, though. Exiled Emrakul before would change the rocks. Cool. Yeah. We will obviously top deck a Cryptic, so no reason to cycle Remand. Why not bounce? Emrakul has protection from colored spells, and this is a colored spell. So, but Teferi is not a colored spell; it's a colored permanent. So if we can draw one of those, we do get to bounce it. No, this one is protection from colored spells. The other one, the 13 mana one, is protection from instants. Yeah, playing Hades, the word boon has just entered my vocabulary. So if we Remand this, they can replay it. I don't know that they definitely will. Why not bounce Mystic Sanctuary? So for that to work, we need to have we just have another Mystic Sanctuary here to actually put the Cryptic back into our hand next turn. If we bounce the Sanctuary, we don't get to get a Field of the Dead trigger off of Zombie if we get a Sanctuary here, and we also don't get to draw Cryptic Command next turn unless we cast Veil of Summer, Remand our own Veil of Summer. Yeah, we get to cycle the Veil, and we will do that in response to the Fun Raveler. My opponents also go... Are they going to go down to 6 here? Yeah, actually, they just die if they cast the Teferi. Because we get to Veil, and they can't bounce a zombie, and we can make another zombie, and they just lose the game. Yeah, Hades has been really good. I haven't played it in a few weeks now, but I have like 80 clears or something like that. Oh no, Athena left. Oh, no, she didn't. See, the problem with the Athena cam is she's just always like... She'll like lay down in a spot for 2 seconds and then move. She just doesn't stay still. They can't bounce a zombie if we cast Veil of Summer first, because Veil of Summer gives hexproof. And they decide to not go for... They decide to not go for the Teferi again. Makes sense to me. So I'm going to get back Cryptic Command. I think I'm just going to Aether Gust the Dwarf token. No, it doesn't really change the clock. It is more mana efficient though. Like, what else are we gusting? I guess we could gust a Veil. So next turn we can have Cryptic plus Veil plus Gust up. So if they have a Veil for our Cryptic, we're going to want to keep this Gust. We tails into an Emrakul trigger this game. It's crazy. Yeah, we probably need to gust this. Obviously it's like a bit scary to have to gust this, because if they do have a Veil plus a counterspell, is there two unknowns we lose? But I think it's good to do this. So their hand is Teferi, 2 mystery cards. They have to have counterspell plus Veil of Summer to beat this. So we're gonna do it in their upkeep to stop them from just getting one extra look at counterspell plus, or I guess just 2 counterspells does it too. But they don't, if they have a counterspell, they don't choose to fight here. They cast the Fun Raveler. We will cast Veil. They did put the Izzet Charm on top, so they can Izzet Charm my Veil, because they've now drawn that for turn. Yeah, Legacy is very accessible online. How does Counterspell plus Veil do it for them? Oh, you're right. It had to be 2 counterspells. Sorry. I was just kind of thinking about them having Veil really hard because of the Gust. But I forgot Veil just doesn't stop Cryptic Tap. They are dead if they don't have anything here. And we can take an Emrakul hit. We can take an Emrakul hit. Yeah. Crazy game. Tails ended an Emrakul.
What's up? It's me, your friend Aspiring Spike.
252,000 channel points. Welcome back, 7 months in a row. I feel like sometime next year we'll be getting people cashing in 1,000,000 points, and hopefully we don't get like a bunch at the same time. Worth bringing in for Emmy. So Tails In is mostly to stop their fetches, which are part of their combo because of Dorvard Mine and Teferi Time Raveler. It's not for the Emrakul trigger, but that is something we ended up doing that game. I think I'm gonna mulligan this hand. Gust does stop the combo, but not if they have Teferi. Someone cashed in 1,000,000 to fight Caleb. Oh no. I do not have a historic collection tab, so I don't currently take any historic dono decks. Although I would if I did have a historic collection. And maybe I will one day have one, but until then, can't do it. Unless part of the dono is enough money to buy the entire deck on Arena somehow. Which I don't know if that's possible. So we have to go to 5. Okay, this hand's fine. I'm gonna put back, I think land Factor Fiction. I'll have an Arena collection as soon as Arena supports Modern, so never? It's starting to feel like never. I know that they want to do it, of course. Is now a good time for deck tech? Yeah, sure. Always a good time. Usually if it's not, I just like have it off to the side until I'm ready for it. Any tips on Sideboard versus Blue Moon as Jeskai Lotus? Cut most of your removal spells. Play probably like 2 Aether Gust. I've only played the matchup like once or twice, but it doesn't seem that bad. I usually cut all my Cryptics against Blood Moon decks, but probably not against Blue Moon. Maybe trim 1. What if someone loaned you their loaded arena account for the day? I believe that that's against terms of service. To like, it might not be, but I'd have to look into it, and I'm not like very interested in losing my career over $30. It might be fine, but I kind of think it would be against TOS. I've seen some of my videos on YouTube of other people plagiarizing. I've seen some videos on YouTube of people playing the Jeskai Lotus list. It becomes a thing. How do you see them adjusting more damping spheres? Maybe. I don't know. It seems like nobody knows how to play against the Jeskai Lotus deck, so it's like a bit too early to tell. But if people are playing a ton of Damping Spheres, you probably need a Braids in the 75. Or Wear Tear, possibly. Wear Tear is maybe good. I like that it kills Blood Moon. Yeah, you're not plagiarizing. In fact, I like heavily encourage people to play my list. It's like a huge part of the reason why I stream. I really, really like that people like to play my decks. My opponent has Teferi plus Veil. It's just the worst case scenario because we can't Veil a Veil. You know what I mean? Opponent also only has 5 minutes on the clock. How are we? We're up 15 minutes. It's funny. Yeah, they have Veil. Barf. Please be Guttural Response somehow. It's not. We could Veil into Force of Negation, but we also just need to cycle the Veil anyways. Maybe Veil isn't even that good against them. This also cantrips at least. How are we up 15 minutes? It doesn't feel like my opponent's been playing slowly, just that we've been able to play quickly, maybe. Guess we're just gonna Factor Fiction and hope my opponent doesn't have it. Oh, also the Force of Negation was 1 card down. Just 1 card down. That's a stacked fact, though. Although we're just dead to Polymorph. Plus Fetch Land. Or Dwarven Mine. Yeah, I do play really quickly. I'm not pretending I don't. I already have a Gust. I feel like I'll just take this pile. Maybe a long stream today to get through 4 leagues. If like each league takes 2 hours. Alright, dead to Polymorph, dead to any effect like that. They have 4 cards and they have a lot of Polymorphs in their 75. Well, they don't have it in their hand. They do have a bunch of hasty dwarves, though. Hey, Harry. Yeah, this is going about as good as it possibly can for a mold of 5. Alright, I'm gonna put the Veil of Summer, the Fear of Veil into them, I think. They might have their own Veil, they don't. They already played 1. Well, if I am 0% to win, I'll concede as I always do. Unclear if the match is going to come down to clock. You couldn't Veil, they have 3 Fairy on board. After I bounce the Teferi, I have Veil of Summer to protect this Force of Negation, in theory. That's what I'm representing. Obviously, I know that. But I didn't articulate it, I guess. Start to get rid of dwarves? Maybe. A 3rd dwarf would be a big deal. I feel like we can find an Uro or a field soon. Assuming this resolves. I think I'm more interested in this Factor Fiction resolving than I am my opponent's Teferi not resolving. This Field of the Dead is huge because it makes hasty zombies. Any thoughts to fielding the Triumph to try to cut them off whites? That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think we have to take the field pile. It's a good draw. Dead to Polymorph. But they didn't have one last turn. Oh, they have it this turn, though. GG. And so I really feel like cycling is a big deal to replace the Mass Hysteria effect. It does like kind of cost 1 more mana than Hysteria, but not if you preemptively play it. sometimes. And also gives trample, which is not irrelevant. Yeah, you can't. I guess that's a good point that you can't turn 4 kill people. But I don't know. I feel like it would be better. Especially, Hysteria also has the huge downside of, like, if you play it on turn 3, you give your opponent's creatures haste, which, like, you could just die because of that sometimes. Probably Hammer Time? I'm not saying it's definitely better. I just think we should think about it. Oh, Heliod. Need for Speed? What's Need for Speed? Is that a real card? I don't even know what real cards are anymore. Yeah, I don't know. It has not necessarily has a real downside, and like Footfall Craters cost one more, but also cycles, which is a big deal when you're playing 4 of like these red enchantment that you really never want to draw 2 of. Is another thing you like never want to draw 2 Hysteria. So giving that effect cycling is a big deal, and it gives trample, which is not often going to be relevant, but it's not nothing. They did get a Walking Ballista. Sacrifice a land. Oh yeah, that would be good. It's a lot of Giver of runes. The Ranger Captain's also a bit annoying, but Uro plus Fact or Fiction is just always so good. So I'm really glad I hit an Uro here. Easily taking this pile. I guess we also Factor Fiction in our instep, because we can't Factor Fiction and FOF if we don't do it now. We probably have to. Oh, we can't do it either way. Never mind. Pass it back. Well, thank you, Little Fit. Hope you're having a good day. Glad you're tuning in.
What's up? It's me, your friend.
And subscribing for 6 months in advance. What the heck? That's crazy. Thank you for that. Wild. Definitely appreciated. Yeah, I think we need to counter the second captain. We don't want to get too stun locked. We'd also get more cryptics back with Sanctuary, of course. So I'm going to play our fetch land first. Drew a cryptic for turn is really nice. Get in with Uro, put a second field into play. Why do you play that without the Vial? I found Vial to be like a bit, maybe win more is not the right word, but it's like you only ever want to draw 1 Vial, usually, sometimes 2, and always in your opening hand. And in like your kind of control game plan that's trying to really get to the late game, it's a really bad top deck. I have played the deck with Vial in the past, or maybe I should say decks like it with Vial in the past, and I haven't missed it at all. I have not missed Vial. I know other people do play Vials in the list, but I don't think you want to be on them. It's like Vial feels really good a lot of the times, but it's also still pretty slow, and Vial is worse when you're playing like, you know, Cryptic Command and Time Warp and all these remands. You're playing a lot of spells in the deck. It's not an all creature deck where you want to be with Aether Vial. It's something else to note. Maybe we play no forces. I usually like 1 or 2 against them. Could maybe trim a Spiral and the third Factor Fiction. We want to keep Nexus, I think, to just win with Infinite Life. against Infinite Life. Yeah, sure thing, Little Fit. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable to play Vile. I know some people prefer it, but I in my personal opinion, I just don't think it's correct. How you doing today, Fran? Just trying to make Fran happy with my land counts all day, every day. I've said this a few times, and maybe I'm out of my element. I could be like a child wandering into a conversation and, you know, just like demanding to know what's going on. But is it just me, or does Conclave Mentor just kind of suck? I kind of feel like Conclave Mentor sucks. Yeah, this is the real MTGO user, Aspiring Spike. Cool, let's get a draw. Let's get a Breeding Pool and cast an Uro. Just a little pet card of mine. Get Remand back, pass back. I'm doing swell, Fran. Well, if we had gotten the Reclamation into play first, this choke wouldn't do very much. And I guess we can still maybe play one, but ouch. If Progenitus had an activated ability, what would it be? Deal 1 damage to itself, but then you can't activate it. I guess shout out to that 5-0 list that really helped kickstart the stream. Which 5-0 list are you talking about? Yeah, but the stream definitely has been popping off. Dude, having to pay life here stinks. Little Fit gifting 5 subs. That's super nice of you too. Rex Grouchy, Nitpicking Nerds, Sergeant Cuddles, and IX. Thank you for joining the stream. Very cool.
Welcome, Spike League, to the Shark Typhoon.
Alright, we're dead to 1 white mana symbol being put into play. But they don't have it. Oh, the Goldfish article. Ah, I see. I should have figured. If we draw a untapped land here, we actually are just in fine shape. Did not hit, so going to game 3. I don't think we need to play Gust for choke. We still have Force and Remand and Teferi and Wilderness Reclamation. I think it's fine.
What's up? It's me, your friend.
Well, thank you, Little Fit. Have a good day. Keep this. Gonna get a Prairie stream. Dude, look at this. Yield until end step. Ah, it's back.
Welcome, Spike League, to the Shark Typhoon.
Feels so good. Yeah, choke is a magic card for sure. Berserker Mars, thank you for your tier 1 subscription as well. Always love to see a new subscriber.
The Shark Typhoon.
A lot of new subscribers this week. It's been really popping off. Very heartwarming. I definitely am on the Remand anything train. Choo choo. I mentioned the Pioneer list that I found interesting. It's rogues. It's Sultai rogues with Deathrite Shaman. Maybe not casting Uro is bad against Coco here. Like if they just pass with Coco up, it's pretty awkward. Yeah. Makes me wish I just cast Uro. Yeah, play Forest because of choke. My opponent plays Coco. Do we remand or just hold up Fact or Fiction? I think we remand. Remanding into another remand would be so good, or Force of Negation even, or Island. Yeah, now that people know I'm an established MTGO user, we're getting the subs. I guess that makes sense. They are not going to play around a third counterspell. Thalia and Heliod, interesting. Heliod, of course, good. Or Thalia and Heliod, both good here. Can't quite play that one. I think we're just gonna Factor Fiction here, right? And maybe we get a Temple Garden because of choke. It's not NAM, it's MTG. There are rules. Awesome. Does John Goodman have a cameo? Can someone look? If John Goodman has a cameo, I'll pay him to say that. John Goodman might have a cameo, right? I feel like is that a good... Okay, so one is paying celebrities for cameos to have sound notifications a good investment for the stream? And if it is it tax deductible? Because I think the answer to both may be yes. Yes and yes, I think. I actually think it's a pretty good idea. So did anybody actually look it up and see if John Goodman has a cameo? Probably doesn't, right? Okay, so we can spiral into Cryptic. No, we can't. Cryptic costs 5. But what we can do is we can tap bounce my opponent's Heliod. Or I think I'm just going to hope that they sack their captain and go for the combo, and we can just bounce the Heliod in response. He doesn't? Yeah, probably not. Oh, no, damn it! Oh, I was looking at chat. I was looking at chat. Damn it. Sorry. Oh, man, if John Goodman had a cameo, that would be so perfect. Does anybody from The Big Lebowski have a cameo? Probably not. Alright, I will force a turn 1 Vial. Or an Amulet, I think. Yeah. Mick Foley. Who's Mick Foley? WWE wrestler. I'll just go through cameos sometime this week, and I will see if there's anybody that I think would be a good fit for the role. All right, I guess we're gonna Factor Fiction, but I do think this is a good idea. They're gonna Uro. It's funny. I'm gonna path the Uro on the stack. I just love it when my opponents do that to me. What's the line we're discussing getting cameoed? I wanted what I really wanted. I wanted John Goodman saying, this is not NAM, this is MTG. There are rules. That would have been really good. But he doesn't have a cameo, so we're maybe just kind of exploring other ideas. Looks like a kind of tough pile for them. They do get to Titan with Cavern of Souls next turn. We do have a path. This is a NAM, this is MTG where there are no rules. Maybe I kind of like being a little more true to like the original quote, I guess. No, Everett Mohan is not on cameo. Snoop Dogg has a cameo. That would be awesome. I really actually think this is a great idea to for streamers to, like, you know, use cameo to get sub sounds, especially during this DMCA crisis. I'll take this pile. Take this pile. I want the lands more than anything. Am I gonna want to Mystic Sanctuary back any of this turn cycle? Because we can do that. What is Cameo? Cameo is a platform where usually celebrities... or maybe I should have played the second Uro, actually. Yeah, I probably should have. Yeah, I think that's better than holding a Path. Although this is better if they somehow can Amulet and Titan, but they probably just Titan. And I kind of want to cycle my Remand too. Like, a Cameo is a platform where usually celebrities will, like, allow you to... Like, you ask for, like, a personalized message from them, and they'll read the line, and they'll send you a video of them reading the line, and for money. Yeah. We can. I'm gonna cycle the Remand, but we don't get to actually put it back in the hand. They have a Cavern of Souls, so it doesn't really do much. Now Path with the trigger on the stack. Oh no, this is bad actually, because they have 2 Teleria Wests, so now they actually get zombies right now from the field. I guess it's kind of the same either way. Yeah, chat never sees the Cavern of Souls. There's no way Bernie has a cameo, right? Oh, dude, Bog. Gross. Yeah, you're right, Fran. I should have realized I was gonna get bogged, and I should have sanctuaried. Should have realized I was gonna get bogged. Get some zombies here. You don't want Naruto to make your sub sounds? No way. Shadowless? That's awesome. I'm gonna make a note to myself. That's awesome. I haven't, you know, we're just having the idea live on stream. I haven't looked into it myself, but yeah, the Naruto voice actor is actually perfect, I think. If I can get like Believe It. Oh my gosh, this is a great idea. I'm gonna do this after today's stream. Every once in a while, I have a good idea. This definitely feels like one. Can I pin the Sideboard guys in the Discord since the channels are open to chat? Can I pin the Sideboard guys in the Discord? I guess I don't understand exactly what that means and what the difference is between having its own channel. Do you mean just have like one channel with all the Sideboard guides so there's no chat in the channel? If I could get Sasuke too, if Sasuke also has a cameo, you know, I would be a fool to turn that down. Yeah, I think that makes sense, Deft. I'll also put that in my sticky notes, which is my reminders to do things, and sometimes I look at them. No, I've never seen Boruto, and I'm not very interested in watching it either. Kind of seems like a soulless cash grab, honestly. Yeah, Boruto's dad's in it. It's probably the one good thing to come out of that show is that joke. Yeah, I've finished all of Shippuden, of course. I haven't seen every episode, but I've read the manga. I've seen most of it. It was pretty good. I really wish they didn't run out of budget like halfway through the Naruto Pain fight. That's always been one of my biggest gripes with the series. Yeah, so yeah, I didn't watch like almost any of the filler. I mean, when I was a kid, right, and I didn't know what filler was, and you know, there was filler hell after the first part of the series ended, and I was like, wow, this show has gotten a lot worse. This show used to be so much better. Then I found out what filler was. I think I'm just gonna get a tapped breeding pool here. Maybe we're supposed to save this for Mystic Sanctuary, but I kind of want to like maybe just top deck some cantrips and escape Uro and get another zombie right now. I think the series as a whole is very good. Honestly, I like Naruto. Oh, they just pick up the bog again. And we drew a Sanctuary. Well, I'll just make them show me that they can make another Titan. They should be able to if they just have a bounce land. They do have to pay for a pack trigger, I guess. But I think Naruto as a series is fine. We do a lot of criticizing the series on this channel. And, really, like, it's a bit upsetting because the series had a lot of good characters and world building and interesting ideas, but is also, like, pretty fundamentally flawed with, like, plot holes and inconsistencies, and it drags on really long, and there's a lot of retconning of characters too and characters' motivations. But it really did, in my opinion, have the potential to be one of the greatest of all time. And it also was my first like anime I ever watched, like a lot of kids. Yeah. Just standard shonen tropes, Alright, they get to Titan again, which is good game 2. Have a chance of finishing the stream before 4 o'clock. Probably want like 2 paths. 2 paths, 2 force. 2 Uro. 2 Teferi. This looks pretty good to me. Did I see the Spike see the comment about Sasuke's voice actor? I didn't see it, Shadowless. Let me scroll up. Okay, cool. I'm also gonna put this in. Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. Esther, I couldn't afford to buy you a Christmas present this year. I spent all our money on Cameo, but it's an investment, sweetie. I'm gonna deduct it on my taxes. It's for the stream. It's for the stream. You understand. What if maybe I can get a cameo of Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Esther? That probably mean I can spend all my money on Cameo. There's a Naruto theme park, really? I would go. Any new jokes today? We're forming one. Although it's not really a joke, but I'm gonna try to hire the Naruto voice actor on Cameo to make some stream sound notifications. Which isn't like really a joke, but it will become a joke once it happens, I will force a amulet, pitch the Nexus. Definitely like on the Remand anything train here. Especially because if they have a tap land, they can't replay the amulet. Would love to draw a Temple Garden or a fetch land for it this turn. Awesome. If we can go to Teferi and to hold up Aether Gust, I'm going to feel really good about this game. Dude, there's no way Jeb Bush is on Cameo, but if Jeb Bush is on Cameo... We actually talked about this yesterday. Maybe that's how this idea started, actually. We talked about getting Jeb Bush to say, please subscribe. Which would be, like, genius. It would be super innovative. It would be, I would be Twitch royalty if I could make it happen. But this seems more affordable. Can I use a cameo like that to promote my own media? I don't see why not. But I will certainly, like, in my cameo request, say, hey, this is what I want to use the sound for. If you're not comfortable with that, refund me or something, or keep the money. I don't know. But I'll definitely disclose that that's my intention with the cameo. But I think it would be fine. I've seen other people like I remember like H3 as a gag. They would have like they had cameo people like say happy birthday to some people on their staff, and they like in their podcasts they showed the clips. I don't know why it would be a problem. But maybe it would be. There's always, you know, some nonsense, right? I mean, there's no way I can get Jeb Bush to say please subscribe. It's like, let's not kid ourselves. There's no way that could possibly happen, right? There's just no way for any amount of money Jeb would do that for me. Even though we're both Texas natives, I feel like, you know, he could maybe throw me a bone. But I just don't think he'd be up for it. Write him a letter. I don't know if Ted Cruz can embrace the meme about being the Zodiac killer, then maybe Jeb would embrace the meme too. How about a Jeb Bush impersonator? Maybe. Write him a letter telling him you'll get all my viewers to vote for him. Yeah, but then I'd have to endorse Jeb Bush, which is not worth any amount of money or cameos. I don't think we're quite in garbage time, but it's close, maybe. No Lotus Fields in this version. I did think about playing it instead of Field of the Dead, but I feel like Field is better in these shells. Field of the Dead, not Lotus Field. I could endorse him sarcastically. The problem is, then for the entire, you know, there's still a clip of me endorsing Jeb Bush on the internet, which is not something I can stomach, I think. I think I want to factor fiction, start making zombies. We get to untap with Gust. We'll be fine, I think. Gust plus Path, maybe, even. Yes, it is, Grog. Yeah, I could maybe look into an impersonator. I hope that there wouldn't be, like, any legal issues, though, with, like, hiring an impersonator of a political figure for a Twitch sub-sound. Feels like that's more likely than, like, the Naruto cameo, right? But just how good would it be? Please subscribe from Jeb Bush. It would be so good. I can't even, like, just boggles my mind how awesome that would be. Yeah, mostly just a little healthy amount of libel, right? Yeah, the sigh, please sub. Oh my gosh, it would be so good. Wouldn't it, like, necessarily be very on theme with the stream, though, I guess. Yeah, I think our opponent's pretty dead, too. I think we're going to game 3. Yeah, I think you're right, Sander. I mean, Ted Cruz did embrace the Zodiac killer meme, which it's honestly pretty cool of him. Probably the only thing I'll ever say nice about Ted Cruz. Does Kanye have one? Probably not. Why the fixation on Bush in particular? It's just like he has that the attitude, the please clap thing. I don't know if you saw it, but there was just a Jeb Bush was doing a political rally or a political speech or something, and he like finished and he just goes sigh. He sighs and he says please clap, and then people start clapping, and you know people were goofing on him, they're clowning on him, and I really think it would be a good Twitch sub sound. You know, please sub. You know, the sigh, please sub. I think it would be good. And I guess you want to Field of Ruin this cavern. But yeah, there's nothing beyond that. You know, I don't really know any. I honestly don't know almost anything about Jeb besides that. Like, it just kind of felt like he was running because his family kind of expected him to try to be president because he's a Bush. And his heart wasn't in it at all. You could just kind of tell his heart wasn't in it at all. Yeah. So I guess I kind of assumed everybody knew about that part, but that's the whole joke. That's the whole joke. Adam MTG, 3 months in a row, quarter year. Thanks, buddy. Welcome back. Yeah. Let me keep this. Can we get a Streets Ahead tracker like the Fran count? If a mod wants to make it, I won't shut it down. This is not a hand I think I'd keep on 7, but I think on 6 you're kind of priced into keeping it. Drawing the second Reclamation, there's only 2 in the deck, also feels pretty bad. Maybe Tailsin is better than I think it is, but like countering a primetime ETB isn't very good. This version doesn't play many fetch lands. It is good against T-West though. It's like it's better if they play Karn, but we haven't seen a Karn yet. We just played this. I mean, if they have a really slow hand and we get to go Reclamation into Fact or Fiction and they still don't have a Titan in play, we're going to be fine. Just because I ignored your comment does not mean I'm a fan of Trump, no. Very far from it. Okay, well, Gust actually feels like it puts us in the game. My UPS is making sounds, so if maybe my stream will crash. My uninterruptible power supply is making sounds. So we don't really need a second white. I'll just get a snow-covered island. I do not like Aether Vial in the Ephemerate deck. I just don't think it's correct to play. I guess they can't Titan me this turn very easily, so I probably should have draw step gusted the tracker. Yeah, I don't know. It's. I've had a few power flickers and the supply one time crashed, but it may have just been on my end, you know. Yeah, we should have draw step gusted this. Canister tweeted Vial was a scam. Yeah, it just isn't better in my opinion. It will be better in some games. Like it's a higher power level option for less consistency. But I do think that when these kind of situations draw up, you need to think about your X and Y graph, power level versus consistency. And in my mind, the amount of power level you're gaining is not high enough for the amount of consistency you're sacrificing. But it's certainly something to think about. And when you're making a decision, like whether or not to include Vial in a deck like this, that should, in my opinion, be like how you think about it is your willingness or unwillingness to sacrifice consistency for power, and like how much consistency are you sacrificing for like some nut draws. And I think because you're like trying to get to the late game, it's such a bad top deck, you like really never even want to draw 2, and you kind of just want to draw 1 and draw it like basically just on the first turn. I'm not into it. Not that it will definitely be bad though. I'll take Gust versus 4 cards. I don't know that my opponent's gonna do that. I did Violet and Emrakul when I was playing Blue-Red Through the Breach. We stole an opponent's Aether Vial and then Vialed it in. It's pretty cool. Yeah, we have Remand for a Titan. If they have a Cavern, it's bad for us though, but if they don't have a Cavern, this is so good. You feel like this deck is missing a Loam? Yeah, maybe. Loam is definitely a card I think you could consider. Am I excited for set that chat makes fun of me because I can't pronounce? Yeah, I actually am. I'm really liking a lot of the cards we're seeing. I don't think there's anything I want to see specifically. In fact, like usually I like to just enjoy the set as it comes out, and I usually don't read too much into any one spoiler because you cannot truly evaluate any card without the complete context of the full set being spoiled. You just can't really make an opinion on the set until you have that context of the entire set spoiled at once. So I usually just like sit back and enjoy it for a little bit and then eventually form my opinion. I'll take 4 cards versus Nexus, but I'd also probably take Nexus plus any other card here. Sir Alex has donated for the Sultai Rogues list and you'll be first in the queue for next Thursday. Yeah, it is cool that more dwarves are getting printed. Like, dwarves were, like, in alpha, but have just really not gotten any support until Kaladesh. It makes a lot of sense to support dwarves, in my mind. Yeah, I'll take Nexus plus Spiral, I think. Maybe not. Nexus is pretty good here. It's better than, yeah. Make 7 dwarves playable. Maybe in standard. Can we? Yeah, we can Spiral again and still Nexus. Pretty big draw step, I guess. It's a pretty good draw. Yeah, I think we want to use our mana. It was a bit weird to do this. Seems good to me, though. I think I'll take any 2-spell pile here. What if we Cryptic the Growth Chamber? I think it's better to just draw a card, an extra card. Like, because they can still just Titan us with any untapped green source. Sanctuary out of the deck? No, it's still in the deck. That's good. "24 cards left in our library." I guess that's what happens when you cast a bunch of Factor Fiction. But that's also good because we have a Nexus of Fate in the deck. So the more cards we draw, the more turns we get to take. Ding, 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 ding. Possible our opponent never gets to take another turn, although not very likely. Yeah, the 3. I like the 3 Factor Fictions. But Lockhart likes Shrines. There's no way I don't play it at some point. But also like sub 5 minutes. We're up 13 minutes on the clock. Kind of wild. Alright, so I think we Sanctuary back Factor Fiction, and then Teferi draw it, just cast it. Yeah, this happens a lot where like it feels like both players are playing at the same pace, and then we just look at our opponent's clock and I'm up like 13 minutes or something wild like that. Happens too often, maybe. Yeah, all my opponent's been doing all game is trying to resolve it the same tireless tracker. I know I trimmed an Uro, but having a hard time drawing one. Take an extra turn. Bounce the Sanctuary and draw a card. I think so. Cool. And I'll hold this to cycle maybe into the Factor Fiction. I just want to find the Nexus. Cool. Again, we only have 14 cards in our library. We're like pretty likely to just loop Nexuses here. I'll make a 1/1 Shark as a win condition. Don't really need to make anything bigger than that. Didn't find the Nexus. Did find Field. We also just have, you know, Double Gust and Cryptic, right? Oh, easy. Choose this pile. They've already played a land for the turn. So no extra turn forest this time. Do I want to cryptic anything? I don't think so. I think I'll discard forest, path to exile. No, Misty path, yeah. Running out of fetchables. Left in our library. 2 of them are Uro, 1 of them is Nexus of Fate. Jav, 3 months in a row. Welcome back. Hope you're having a good day today. I think. Kind of feels like they have 2 trackers. All right. So we went 3-2 this league.